Come on, everybody, it's time to listen in to an actor and a teacher who love their wrestling. No more division, forget those prejudice. The Wrestling Connection is here with Glenn and Chris.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, welcome to the Wrestling Connection. It is episode 73. We've not waited too long since episode 72, and we are back again. Ladies and jelly spoons, ladles and jelly spoons, knives and forks, and sporks. Let's not forget the sporks. I am Glenn. I am joined by my podcasting co-host, my tag team partner, the Nick to my Matt, the Matt to my Jeff, the Road Dog to my Billy Gunn, and the Hook to my Taz, the one, the only CM42 TV, Chris Moffat. We are back for episode 73 after what I'm going to refer to as our hiatus. We took our ball and we left, and it's now No Way Out 2003, and we are back together to whoop Eric Bischoff's backside, but not before he's been covered in black paint after officiating a wedding renewal ceremony. There is a lot of references packed into that, but like I say, this is episode 73 of the Wrestling Connection. My name is Glenn. I am joined by my good close personal friend Chris. Chris, how are you this fine evening?
Flustered because I forgot to bring my juice. It's not even juice, it's water. I poured myself a glass of water with ice and I forgot to bring it with me.
Well, I've got Pepsi I can offer you, or if you want to go and grab it, I'll keep the nice people entertained for all of 2 seconds.
No, it's okay. I'll wait till we go through like a toilet break or something. I'll go through and get it, unless I have a severe if I go through a severe dry mouth stage, or if I start choking on my air, maybe I will need to go get something to drink. Also, I'm just so unprepared. We did not prepare to record tonight, Glenn. I'm not ready. I've not even shaved yet. Look at my beard.
I mean, you're quite blurry on my screen. But
you're blurry on my screen, but I think this happened last time. We're actually recording video for this one, everybody. And this is weird. Normally I can't see Glenn when we're recording. So this is
only
weird.
Because I do a good Mean John Cena impression. That's the only reason why.
Boom roasted. So now we can see each other, but I remember last time we did a test, the videos were blurry, but then when we had it in the end, it was fine, wasn't it?
Well, it's seemingly so, based on Chris sent me a screen grab of our little trial run that we did about 2 months ago, and it does look like we're breaking news stories,
right?
With the way it's been formatted, but no, that looks good, and I'm sure we'll be absolutely fine. More importantly, as nice as it is to see you, which has only ever really happened once or twice in the history of our little podcast.
Right.
How the hell are you? How have you found our little hiatus? We've done maybe 2 episodes in the last 2 months. How's it been?
It's been nice. Obviously not having like the I have to record for the viewers and the listeners, good. You know what I mean? It's been nice to take a wee break. However, obviously missed sitting in front of the microphone, missed seeing you, missed talking to you, missed chatting wrestling every single week. Absolutely. So it will be good to get back to it in the new year. I think we went for 70 weeks in a row uninterrupted.
I know. We didn't make it to 83, so we could, pay tribute to our. Yeah, we'll get there, but it needs to, for the Bischoff touch, it needs to be 83 consecutive. But I get you, because I think we kind of, well, I don't know about you, but I impressed myself with how consistent we became after starting this in March of 2020, and I have to say I enjoyed not feeling the pressure to do it. So that tells me that, and also because our little break was so organic. Do you know what I mean? We didn't sit down and decide. We just stopped, and we came back and did the show about the house show, right?
Yeah, and then we did Rebellion.
And then we just kind of have left it. And you've been working, I've been working. And we've just had Christmas. Merry Christmas, everybody!
Merry Christmas! Yes, no, Merry Christmas to you, my friend. Forget about the listeners. Don't care about them.
I know we didn't even do a Christmas. Last year, Chris and I did a Christmas gift exchange, and that's where I got the Scotty 2 Hottie action figure, which sits right behind me. We chose not to do that this year, mainly because we don't really have any money or time, and that was the thing. Everything was so stressful this year. So, but I'm glad to be back. I hope to be more regular with this.
Yeah, I agree.
In 2022, I don't know how weekly will be, but we might be damn close to it.
Yeah, I think if we were continuously being weekly like we were before, I think then we would have done the Christmas thing again. But the fact that we were out of sorts, I don't feel as if it was like we have to get each other something. But it was nice to definitely obviously, we say feel the pressure. It's not as if we're always really pressured to do these episodes anyway. But the good thing about consistency is that you're consistent. The bad part about consistency is that you need to do it all the time. You know what I mean? So I like a streak. You know, Undertaker's my favorite wrestler. I like the consistency. I like, I've always done that with YouTube and things like that. But even YouTube, I've not uploaded in a month. Just because it has been, I think, on record for me, the busiest December I've ever had.
So can you tell the listeners about what you've been up to and what's kept you so busy?
Yeah, so we have a busy December anyway because we've got lots of family birthdays in December, right? That's just the way December is. And then, of course, there's the build up to Christmas and stuff. I went to see Fozzy live in Glasgow.
All right, you need to tell us all about that. Come on.
Yeah, December 2nd at the Garage in Glasgow, the first time I ever saw Fozzy live, and it was great. Oh my God. Fozzy aren't like the greatest band in the world. We can say what you want about Jericho and his singing and his beliefs and all that stuff, but my God, what a great show. We had the best time. They put on a great show. We knew a bunch of the songs. He opened with Sane, that new single, closed with an AC/DC cover right after Judas. He sang, Enemy. That 2005 pay-per-view theme song. I can't remember which one. And yeah, things like that. Like, it was just also just the fact there's Jericho. Do you know what I mean? Like, we've been to the wrestling so many times. We've sat there, second or third row at the WWE house show in September 2021, and it was great seeing Seth Rollins right there in front of you. You're so close to them. But there's something about, like, we're standing at a concert and we were really close to the front. I don't know if you saw any of my pictures that I posted on Instagram, and I actually do have a vlog of it that I'd like to post on the YouTube channel.
Great to see.
But we were so close, and it's just like Chris Jericho just standing there, like right in front of you. It's funny that he is like in two different worlds. It would be really cool if it's a band you really like, and they're standing right there. But the fact it's like a band you like, and it's also like one of your favorite wrestlers ever, right there. It was pretty star striking, if that's the correct term. So
yeah, I had the same experience when I saw Fozzy in 2015. When they were touring with, I think, Do You Want to Start a War? Was that?
Yeah, that came out in 14, so that would have been that tour. Yeah,
I still maintain that's a great record. Like,
I agree.
It really is.
SOS, the ABBA cover, amazing.
Yeah, and they did that live, which was amazing.
I was gutted they didn't do that one live.
I realized, like, Jeff Rouse, one of the guitarists in the band, I don't know if he's still there actually, but he was touring with them in 2015. I've actually already met years prior. But yeah, they played the Garage in 2015, and that was an excellent show. But we had the same thing, but there was this also not only the kind of starstruckness of being so close to Jericho and what it's actually quite an intimate setting, the Garage. Right. There was also the this weird conflict, which maybe doesn't exist nowadays because, like, Judas is his theme in AEW. But there was this weird conflict where, like, there's no way that anyone who's paid for a ticket doesn't know him primarily for wrestling, right? As much as you might be a Fozzy fan. But people almost didn't want to acknowledge the wrestling side because it was a Fozzy gig, not an AEW show or, a WWE show, as it would have been more closely affiliated with them in 2015. And I can illustrate it with this example. There was a point in the show where a couple of guys at the front started chanting Y2J. And other people in the audience were going, "Shh! Don't chant that!" And this is not. It's like why. If somebody did that in an AEW show, you can understand why, because he's not Y2J right now.
Right. And even that annoys him.
Yeah, exactly. And you saw him on that live signing thing when he refused to write things that weren't consistent with the era of what he was saying. He was like, "I didn't even say put you on the list in this era. This is WCW."
And there was one person requested him to write "Beat MJF." And he's like, that's not even one of my catchphrases.
So I don't know how much that existed there, but maybe it's less so now because I think the Fozzy persona and the AEW babyface Jericho inner
Very
circle
similar.
is kind of the same guy, isn't it? Really,
absolutely. It wasn't as bad as that. No one chanted Y2J, but right after the first song, I actually have this on video because I'm quite good at like enjoying the moment. I'm a big believer in enjoying the moment, but I also want a couple of videos just for the sake, because I'm a filmer, you know what I mean? I like vlogging and all that stuff. So I do have some clips of it, which is good. It's good to look back on, but I do like to be in the moment. But I do have this on video where it's like after the first song, there's a very brief Jericho chant at the same time as people chanting Fozzy, Fozzy, and he clocks onto it. You know what I mean? Between the songs. So he goes with the Fozzy chant and drowns them out. You know what I mean? So it's like it's very close to having like a Jericho chant. And there was also the "This is awesome" chant. And actually happened to the band before Fozzy. And they were called The Treatment, who I thought were really good. And everyone was going, "This is awesome." And the guy was like, "Oh man, I forgot you guys do that chant in this country. And I was like, it's not just a Scottish chant.
I mean, the origins of I always thought "This Is Awesome" was an American originated chant. I thought that was born of Ring of Honor in the early
Ring
days
of Honor,
wrestling.
TNA, yeah, absolutely. So it was like, this is awesome, and the guy was like, thanks so much, Glasgow, for like giving us your chant. You know what I mean? When the Glasgow chant is the here we effing go one, which I don't particularly like, but
I
that's what
still
people.
remember being in a house show at the Braehead Arena in 2007, and WWE house show, right? And two weird chants broke out that you only would hear in this country. One's quite obvious, the one less so. And I'll need to look up the match card because I can't remember who was wrestling, but it was Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Do you remember when he had that run in like
In 2007,
2007? Yeah, it was brilliant. Like, I forget that he did that.
he was
Like,
on Raw like every week.
I know, it's like, why? But bless his heart, everybody loves Jim Duggan. Nobody's got a bad thing to say about him. So he was there, right? And you know the man's so strange. And so, first of all, you got this weird USA chant going in the Braehead
Right.
Arena in Glasgow. And then
I
he
love
grabs
that.
somebody's saltire, and you just hear all these wee kids going. And so he's then, you know, that weird walk he does. It's almost like the bushwhackers, kind of marches around the
Aye.
ring. And so he's waving the saltire about, and so all these wee kids break out into Scotland, Scotland, Scotland. So that breaks out. And then later in the match, I don't know who was wrestling. Let's say it was The Miz. It wasn't The Miz, though, because The Miz opened the show with Balls Mahoney. But
I would have loved to have seen that match live.
in 2007, Balls Mahoney, rest in peace.
Yeah.
Is Hacksaw still alive?
Yes, he's just announced he's cancer free, I believe.
Brilliant, because I know he's been through cancer treatment a couple times in his life. So,
Yeah.
well, Hacksaw, we love you.
Absolutely.
And so the bad guy or the heel, to use the terminology, did something rotten, like hooked the ropes or tried to pull the tights or something, right? And then Hacksaw's doing that kind of Hogan thing where he's trying to get the referee and he's pointing, he's accusing, and they're doing the whole pantomime of, did he do it? Yes, he did! And the referee's not buying it, right? And this chant broke out, which I've never heard at another wrestling show ever since, and it was simply this: cheat, 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 cheat. Like a cheat chant.
I've heard that at like PBW shows, and do you know who always starts it? Wolfgang. cheat, or jack in. Those are those like indie babyface chants to try and get the kids involved, and you know they're very charming. You know what I mean? But I love the fact that Hacksaw Jim Duggan is leading a cheat chant.
I know.
Which
Well, I don't even know if he
would,
started it, but he certainly encouraged it. You know?
yeah, he would be great for a cameo, like an intro for the show. Do you not think, Hacksaw Jim Duggan?
I think he does them. Let me look into that.
Yeah, okay. Could be my Christmas present for next year. You just
Certainly.
said the word pantomime. That was also part of my December. I ended up working at the Pavilion Theatre in Glasgow for a bit.
Which we know quite well, Chris.
You know, it was lovely, and I went to the seat that we sat on for that show in the last day before British lockdown in 2020. As we mentioned a bunch of times on the show, Glenn and I went to the sort of like family-friendly wrestling show at the Pavilion Theatre, and this is like, I'd never seen a show like this before because, you know, it's the Pavilion Theatre. It's one of the oldest in Glasgow. 1904 it was built. And you know, it was just the same setup. It's the stage, and then you have the stalls, the circle, the balcony, all the seats there, and the ring is just on the stage. You know what I mean? Like, it's not as usually it's like the wrestling show, the ring's in the middle and you're all around it. But it was just a strange kind of vibe for a wrestling show.
It was strange because in Eddie Guerrero's book, he describes a show like when he was up and coming that he did like that, and I remember him in his book saying how weird it was that. You know, there was only one side of fans, which I suppose is quite customary now, and most WWE tapings burn.
Right, exactly. But you're but surely you're trained in some way to kind of like open your body up and stuff like that to all sides of the ring. So it would be a bit jarring, you know what I mean, just to kind of project to one side of the ring. So that was really interesting. And actually, we had a great time at that show. I think part of the charm was the fact that we think, okay, there's this lockdown coming, we're probably not going to do something for a few months. Little did we know it would be another year and a half till we go back to a wrestling show. But it was also something charming about the show itself. You know what I mean? The fact that it was in a theatre and it was family friendly, and it was like, it wasn't like had like a company behind it. It was just done by the guys just to have a laugh, you know?
Yeah.
And it was a really successful show.
It does feel quite historically significant because the other thing that I was thinking about reflecting on that show recently was that we're quite used to the story now of what happened to Drew McIntyre that weekend, how he got rushed out of Scotland
Right, that
that
was that
weekend,
weekend. That's right, man.
because they were worried that he wouldn't get back in time for WrestleMania, which we were hoping was still going to happen in Raymond James Stadium at that point. But they also pulled out Wolfgang and Noam Dar and all of those guys who were supposed to be on the show to bring
Yep.
them back in to do their own respective NXT or NXT UK stuff. And so, like, we were feeling the ripple effect of it then. God, it feels like 1,000 years ago.
Crazy,
So
right?
it must have been weird for you to go back there on a professional level.
So that was now my work for a bit. It was like just a temporary thing, just because I've always fancied doing that for a panto where you're like front of house and a friendly face to the customers and things like that. Because it's quite Christmassy, isn't it? Like being
Yeah.
in that kind of setting. And we had a great time, but the shifts were long and just a lot. They were full on. And I mean, I can't complain. You're a teacher. You're in every single day. Long days and stuff like that. You know
Not
how it
right now.
feels. Not right now, Christmas holidays. But yeah, it's just I wasn't used to it, so it just kind of hit me a little bit. Just the long hours and
Yeah.
stuff, all the standing about. But I got used to it. And then as the cases of COVID grew, I became a bit uncomfortable, not by being put into any uncomfortable positions by employers or anything like that. It's not about that at all. It's just being around so many people and being in a
It's
theatre
nerve-wracking.
with no distancing. You know what I mean? For people sitting in the seats anyway. We always had masks on and gloves and things like that, so we were safe that way. But it was a weird experience. I was very grateful for the work and very grateful for the pay, people who didn't get. But then, of course, it was supposed to go until January 8th, and then it was pulled on Christmas Eve due to the rise of COVID cases and things like that. So ended up not doing the full run, which as a completionist, is that a word?
Yeah.
Completion.
Also
I
a good
wanted
YouTube channel if you like video games, The Completionist. I'd highly recommend it.
There we go. A completist. Is that the one? I don't know. But yeah, I wanted to do the whole run, but I was happy to kind of I was absolutely done in. You know what I mean? Which is a Scottish term for exhausted. So I was quite happy to enjoy the last few days before Christmas, just chilling. And now, it's this weird week between Christmas and New Year where no one knows what day it is. No one knows how long they've got
I
left till January.
genuinely don't know what day it is right now. I couldn't tell you.
This is
I
Tuesday.
love it. Is it Tuesday? Right.
Yeah.
Let me explain to you what my last few days have been. I get up around 5 a.m. every morning. I take out our new puppy.
Which we need to talk about. Let's come back to that, but I want to hear about
We'll
that.
come back to that. I fall asleep on the couch with said puppy. Today I did a little bit of marking. I
Nice.
then started a jigsaw puzzle, which is currently behind me. And then we put the puppy in a backpack and walked her around because she can't touch the ground outside until tomorrow.
Really?
My days, yeah. Puppies need to get injections before they can go outside to unenclosed areas.
Did not know that.
It's because they
Every
can
day's a
catch up.
school day.
Every day is well, you're talking to a teacher. But my days have been delightfully lazy since the Christmas break kind of finished up, and I wouldn't change it for the world. This is
Yeah.
one of the most like stimulating things I've done since the last
You're
day of
welcome.
term.
You're welcome. But yeah, so it's been a busy December. Christmas was great. I was very lucky to share it with my loved ones, other than one big COVID case during the Christmas period, which prevented me to see a certain group of people, which I was gutted about. But we're hoping that all should be clear for the new year, and all the best for 2022. That's what we're hoping for. What about you? Tell me about your December, because you got a new puppy.
We got a new puppy. I mean, it's been a tale of two Decembers, really. I've actually, despite on paper, and you'll see a lot of teachers talking online about how difficult school is right now and how stressful it is, and I suppose it is. But actually, apart from some really stressful moments, just more to do with like workload and things, uh, work has been great, and I dressed up as Santa.
You read my mind, Daz. It's just what I was about to ask you. You cosplayed as Santa Claus.
I cosplayed. Now, the last time I cosplayed in school was as Michael Myers
That's
at
right.
Halloween. And
Which was excellent, by the way. Which was
that
excellent.
costume has come in handy because I can't remember if this had happened when we last recorded the Rebellion episode, but I was working in my front room when there were children outside making a lot of noise. And so I put the Michael Myers costume on and just stood at the window. I mean, I've got a mask here. I think I should. Because that would be an appropriate thing to show on the camera. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, it's horrendous.
This is the incentive for all the people listening right now on Apple Podcasts or Spotify to go and find the YouTube version if it exists. This might not work. Hopefully it
Well,
does.
if a bit of luck, it will do. Do you know what? I think my wife might have hidden it because my nephew was up.
Oh, right, okay, that's fair. I'm going to show
And
some stuff in
so,
a second anyway. That'll be the incentive for people to watch.
yeah, but you know what? It was serious. That's going to annoy me. I want to know where Michael is. Anyway, yeah, I know. I quite successfully terrified a bunch of children, and I wouldn't have it any other way. Um, and so I had cosplayed as as Michael Myers at school, and loved every minute of it. As sweaty as an affair it was,
I can
and if
imagine it was
there's
really
one thing
sweaty.
sweatier than wearing a boiler suit and a latex mask, it's wearing padding and all the Santa get up, which I did, but I loved it. And I was only supposed to wear it for like 20 minutes in the morning for our breakfast club. I ended up wearing it for most of the morning, but then we had prelim exams happening, and I had to read and
Ah.
scribe for a kid. Like, I can't go in and sit next to a child and read and scribe for them as Santa, because I would feel compelled to stay in character. So I'd be like, "Would you like me to read the passage?" And so,
And the kid would probably just wanting you to give all the answers because you're Santa Claus.
exactly. Like, that would be what I would get them for Christmas. So no, that was brilliant, and it was a bloody good costume as well. It came out of the school
Looked
budget.
great,
It was
yeah.
like one of those premium Santa costumes, not these tacky ones that you get in supermarkets.
Right.
So that was an absolute joy. And then after that, all the kind of Omniverse, Multiverse, Enter the Spideyverse, No Way Home, No Way Out 2003. That's where we are right now,
That's
because
where
it's
we
our
are.
return.
In
Um,
Montreal.
yes, in Montreal. I mean, The Rock wrestles Hogan. Like that. That's weird to me.
How
That's where I am
random.
in my watch along right now.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I'm on Unforgiven 2000. That's what I am.
Gosh, you will catch up with me because I've cancelled and restarted my network about 10 times in the last few months. It's like I
Understandable.
go, and I'm like, I hate WWE and their shoddy Saudi Arabia deals and their shows. Ooh, but it streams at 5 p.m. So
Right.
it's terrible. Um, so yeah, and so my December after that kind of got fairly relaxing, and I've like I say, I almost my social plans I kind of cancelled so that Christmas wouldn't be
Right.
interrupted. Got through Christmas, which is my brother's birthday as well, really quite smoothly. I might have drank some alcohol on Christmas Day.
You did not.
I know, so I felt not too clever on Boxing Day, which is the first time I've been like that in a very long time. Because
You look so guilty. It's all right to drink on Christmas.
no, I know it is. I'm 30 years old. But what I will say to any younger listeners, if you are in your teens or your 20s and you feel like you're indestructible with alcohol, you will, by the good grace and will of God, turn older and you will lose that tolerance. And then one day you'll wake up and you'll think, I don't want to drink alcohol because I'm all it really is drinking, feeling good for about 5 minutes, then feeling very sleepy, then feeling rubbish the next day. And there's just no time for that when you're getting up at 5 a.m. for a puppy. And then, let me tell you, Chris, waking up at 5 a.m. on Boxing Day, still drunk, trying to deal with a puppy, is not a good thing.
Listen,
And
this
so
this show is so wholesome, isn't it? Like, I mean,
it
listen to
really is.
these.
And so that's my moral message, kids. And that'll be me probably till next Christmas in terms of alcohol, which is why right now, in tribute to CM Punk, I'm drinking caffeine-free Pepsi Max.
Give me a Pepsi free. If you want a Pepsi pal, you're gonna have to pay for it.
Has Punk done the Pepsi plunge yet on
No,
All Elite? It'd be
no,
great if he
he
did.
did the Pepsi twist move when it was like the back suplex clothesline thing.
I
But
did
he's
that
not
with
done
Darby.
yes, he didn't do the pedigree off the top rope though. I doubt he will for a while anyway.
I will, though. I bet when he turns heel, he'll start doing it because
Yeah, he
people will think
will.
it's more of a. They won't. A lot of fans might not realize that that's a WWE thing, but it's
Yeah,
inevitably going to do the Triple H connection, isn't it? Which
yeah.
is our new sub podcast, the Triple H connection.
The triple connection. Join us when there's 3 hosts instead of 1. 2, I mean.
Excellent.
Yeah, tell us about Waffle. Tell us what was the story behind that.
Well, we sadly lost our doggy Luna in June. She was only 2. I talked about that at the time.
Yeah,
And
and
there's a
you were doing
picture
some
of
dog
her.
sitting, weren't you?
Yeah, so yeah, that was the thing. Like we always knew we wanted to get a dog one day, but initially we thought maybe like at least a year, because we kind of felt like because we loved Luna so much that we would inevitably project Luna onto any new dog that we
Right.
got. But the dog sitting was like the best thing that we could do. And we started doing that fairly quickly after losing Luna, not
Yeah, yeah.
because people charitably wanted to give us their dogs, but more so because people needed a dog sitter. So everyone from our next door neighbors to parents on all sides, we looked after 3 or 4 different dogs multiple times over between June and November. And so we were quite ready to get a new dog. Waffle's adorable. She's a Wheaten Terrier. We got her on the 9th of December, and she still cries and howls at night, but she's getting better. And it's just the stuff like when you're used to having a trained, mature dog. It's just the things like the toilet training and the
Right.
sleepless nights that you forget about. But I'm grateful we're doing it, and I'm thankful that we're doing it at this end of the year because the days are only going to get longer now,
Yeah.
and the we're in the school holidays. It's fine, and she's a wee rascal, and she's currently downstairs, no doubt sleeping on my wife. So there we
Yeah.
are.
That's so cute, man. And I thought Waffle was a lovely name.
Yeah, that was Kate's idea. Do you know, I wasn't too keen on it at first, but it's really grown on me. It really has grown on me. She suits Waffle. I don't know why. I don't know
You know, I
what
think
came.
that's the case with all names in general, isn't it? Like, even when you hear a weird one at first, it just becomes the person's name. You know what I mean? It's like, it's no big deal after a while. So maybe that's the case. But it's a very cute name. It's a very cute dog. And I'm sure that she'll provide lots of great tales, no pun intended, for the podcast.
I hope she makes a cameo because Luna's voice was heard in this podcast once upon a
Yeah.
time. So hopefully she'll appear in this, especially now that we're in the visual realm of things.
Yes, the visual realm. Sounds like something from Yu-Gi-Oh! Um, did you get any wrestling themed Christmas presents, or was it quite civil this year? Because we didn't do our gift exchange.
Yeah, do you know, I don't think I did. Let me think. Kate and I don't do Christmas presents. Uh, I got some bow ties. I got some
Classic.
alcohol, which is going to gather dust for a year. I got.
Surely you can have one or two throughout the year. You don't
Do you
need to
know?
just
Yeah, I could do, but I really have gone off it. Like in the last 2
yeah.
months or so. Um, that's not to say I wouldn't have one like socially, but it's. I think it's to do with mindfulness and meditation. When you do that more often,
Yeah.
it means that I don't have an edge that I want to take off.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. I agree. I'm not a big drinker in the slightest, and I can easily go months without a drink. You know.
Mm. And so, wait, what was the question?
Did you get any wrestling themed Christmas presents?
Wrestling theme present. No, I don't think so. I got no, I got owl bookends for my mother.
Very
I
nice.
got I got pants and socks for my father, legitimately, and a chocolate orange. I got from my mother-in-law. I got some bow ties. No, I don't think I got anything wrestling related. Which is funny because up until WWE 2K19. So from WWF SmackDown to Know Your Role up till WWE 2K19, I would get a wrestling game every Christmas,
Every
either from
year,
my
yeah.
parents or my brother. And when 2K20 came out and had the terrible reputation, I texted my brother saying, "I know that's what you usually get me, but don't because it's
Don't
crap."
bother, yeah.
And a
Also,
game
it would
less,
get more and more expensive every year, wouldn't it? Like
I
the game
know it's
itself.
horrendous, and the older and when you become financially independent, it's much harder to justify these things because you are kind of shelling out for the same game. But when you're a teenager
Yeah.
or a kid, you see much more value in getting the same FIFA game every year or the same wrestling game every year because even though the differences are only aesthetic, uh, it's for me it was always an excitement. I don't know about you, but every year when I would get the new SmackDown versus Raw, I would always pay attention to how subtly different the sprayed out water in Triple H's entrance was, because it was always slightly different every year. Like going
It
as far
was.
back as like Shut Your Mouth, and just bring it all the way through to Here Comes the Pain and into the SmackDown versus Raw series to even to this day, it's different every year. Like of
It's
all the
supposed to be
things that
getting
remain
like
unchanged.
more and more realistic. Like, how is that going to be realistic though? It's because it's not actually someone spitting water out their mouth, you
I
know?
just love the idea of him at the turkey office going, "You have to get it right, you gotta get my water correct." I miss Triple H, can I just say? I really do.
Yeah. Hope he's well. I know he was having some medical issues. I hope he's well.
I hope so too. I hope we've not
You
seen the
tu-
last of him.
You got a bit quiet there. I don't know if you're holding your mic in a different position.
Hello. Oh, hi. Hoo, ha, ha. Hoo, he,
All
ha.
right, you're good.
I'm good.
A
What did you get for Christmas, Chris?
couple of things I wanted to show you. This is where the people should turn over to the video version.
They should do.
I've got
Here,
this.
are you and your good sister going to do a Christmas haul video like you do every year?
Hell yeah, brother.
Good.
Got this Inside the Ropes wrestling almanac in
I've seen this advertised.
in the style of the Back to the Future 2 one, where Biff steals it and goes to the future.
That's amazing.
It's absolutely ridiculous of all the information. As someone who is not just interested but obsessive over some of these things, this is a very good thing to have. All the
And does
stats,
it
all the
cover
results.
TV and pay-per-view as well.
Yep,
That's amazing.
mental. And then this one as well, which I've not actually had a chance to look through, but this is also Inside the Ropes, wrestling's most memorable promos.
I
It's
saw
just
that advertised too.
all classic promos transcribed.
Is there any kind of commentary on it? Because I wasn't really interested in just a transcript.
Yeah, not a lot of commentary. There's a couple of little paragraphs before it starts, just saying the significance of the promo. So it starts with Hulk Hogan's promo entitled "Mountaintop" from 1984,
Mm-hmm.
and it goes all the way up to CM Punk's return promo at Rampage on my birthday last past year.
Awesome.
So it's class. And this is non-wrestling related, but this was a gift from my sister. And it is the Art of Drew Struzan, the guy who puts together all the movie posters.
Oh, cool.
And yeah, there he is there on the back. And yeah, it's just background on some of the most classic movie posters of all time, different versions of them. I'll try and get a good one up that is somewhat relevant to our love for, I don't know if you're going to find wrestling, but there we go. This is one of my favourites of all time. There we go.
Is this Revenge of the Sith?
Yeah.
Amazing.
And there's just background on the different versions of the posters, what the thought process was in the creation and the design. So a very cool book indeed. So those are some other kind of anime ones of the Revenge of the Sith posters. Yeah.
Awesome.
So that was really cool. And I got a couple of t-shirts, wrestling related.
Let's be seeing it.
Here's Eddie Guerrero.
I didn't even know you could still get that one.
I think it's a
Scarface
re-release.
one.
Yeah.
Nice one.
You are quite quiet. I don't know what's happened.
Hello, Scarface. It's because I've dropped my microphone.
Yeah, but even still, I don't know if...
Hi there, hi there.
That's really loud. It's all right. It's Austin 2001 kind of themed one.
That's amazing. I didn't know you could get that still, like as a re-release either.
Yeah,
That's
re-released.
amazing.
And this was my favourite one. It's brand new, kinda. We the Ones.
Of course, classic. Do you know, man? I used to have like the a reproduction of the original Lost in 316 with the white font.
Yeah.
And I would wear it like when I was like, out at bars and things, like in my 20s. Sometimes with a leather jacket, kind of something that a T-Bird would wear. And because the jacket would cover up the beginning and the end of Austin, people would look at me and go, "Who's Justin?"
Yeah.
It was just
we'd think you're religious or something like that with 316 walking about.
Yeah. And then the other problem I had was with my Bailey I'm a Hugger t-shirt. The many people that thought it said bugger or something even worse.
Right.
Quite a lot of people. It's the t-shirt I wore though when I met Bailey. I don't have it anymore. But the classic kind of purple and yellow I'm a Hugger t-shirt.
That is a classic. We're not wearing it to the WWE show in September.
That was the blue Hugger's Got a Hug Bailey t-shirt.
Oh, I see. A different one. Okay, nice.
That's like that was 2018 Bailey. Main roster.
Yeah, main roster Bailey. Well, those t-shirts there, I was kind of thinking, I'm very happy that Santa brought me them because you can wear them, out as well. You know what I mean? Especially that, like the Eddie one and things like that. So, and this one too. This is the Dwayne Under Armour t-shirt. The Rock.
Nice.
It's a very nice fit, this one. So yeah, very, very lucky as always. Get lots and lots of presents because Santa is insane. And yeah,
well,
so
I
that was
would know
lovely.
because he was at my school, remember?
That's true. You're very close personal friends with Santa Claus. All right, you want to take a wee toilet break so I can go get some water?
It sounds like a plan, Stan. I'll see you in a minute.
Who the hell's Stan?
I just kicked Stan!
Toilet break.
Ooh, yeah.
What is that? Are you wearing a Ravenclaw scarf?
This was also another Christmas present from my sister.
All right, sorry, I didn't get the memo.
Yes, now we're talking. Just a couple of Ravenclaws hanging out on a podcast.
Just don't wear it on Old Firm Day. That's all I'm saying. If you don't want any unwanted attention.
Well, that's what I quite like about it. It's not very subtle. Like, I mean, it's very. I mean, it's very subtle. Like, it's not blue and white with a particular Rangers logo. It's. Now I'm like officially, in the Harry Potter mindset where I'm wearing it about. I'm very happy.
I always had you, and don't take offense to this, but you have the determination of a Slytherin.
Well, I'm not happy with that at all, really.
Here I've got a copy of Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, the Scots version.
Nice.
I mean, it's mental. So here's a famous part of the Philosopher's Stone. The boy who lived now in the original copy of it, which is this one here, and this is a wrestling podcast.
Yeah.
There's a Guns N' Roses concert ticket. It begins with, Mr. and Mrs. Dursley of number 4 Privet Drive were proud to say that they were perfectly normal. Thank you very much. And in chapter 8, the laddie ha lived. Mr. and Mrs. Dursley on number 4 Privet Lane were proud to say that they were gay normal. Thank you very much. They were the least folk you would jealous would be tickled up with anything unto I can't even say it. Call myself a Scotsman. Bloody hell. I have to read Scots when I'm in classroom, when we do Scottish literature.
That's what would happen to me if I ever got scripts that was in Scots and I just couldn't read it. I was like, I can't play this part. I don't know what to say. Yes, and learning, wisdom and wit. That's me.
Well, okay.
All right, so we're back on the Wrestling Connection, the Harry Potter Connection. That's Glenn's other podcast. I'll do the Triple H Connection. In fact, no, I won't actually. We'll get someone else to do that. Speaking of podcasts, though, it was a well kind of earned and needed break, I thought, with at the end of our kind of run there. And I'm also very keen to bring back the good bit with a new kind of format, which I've kind of spoke to you about before as well.
Yeah,
so if you're up for that, we can get Aaron involved, and the three of us could do an episode of the good bit on this new video format, which would be really cool for YouTube and all your favourite podcasting platforms. But the Wrestling Connection is back, and it's great to be back. I'm very thankful to be back. And that leads me into my next question, Glenn, my good friend. What are you most thankful for in the year that was 2021? What a crazy year.
A crazy year. That's a big question. I can keep it wrestling related. I can also be general as well. But I mean, the obvious things that we all thankful for were things like vaccines. Like we all got jagged this year, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
I love that. I was thinking you were going to say something like, Roman Reigns' title run or something.
I am grateful. He's on my list.
Yeah.
I tell you what. I'll give you an obvious one, and that's the return of live wrestling. And
right.
You and I went to that show in the Hydro, the SmackDown show that we talked about a couple of episodes ago, which was really, really, really enjoyable. But I also finally got back to an independent wrestling show.
Oh, yes.
I went to one night of ICW Fear and Loathing at the Glasgow Battlelands. Having not followed it at all, I hadn't been watching Fight Club on the network or anything like that. Not out of any objection to ICW, just because of time, life, the universe, everything.
Right.
Sort of
too much to watch nowadays with all the companies and stuff and the shows.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I whereas I had consumed loads of wrestling, ICW included, in the kind of early stages of lockdown when we all had loads of time on our hands. Me not recently, not so much. So Jamie and I went there without any. We gladly went in blind just to see what it would be like. Having not attended an ICW show since the Lionheart tribute show, which you joined us at.
Right.
And it was great. And it was, do you know what I noticed, man? I realized that it was 10 years ago or nearly 10 years ago that I started going to ICW. So I was in my very early 20s. And back in the first few ICW shows I went to, and it wasn't like yourself when you would go to the original shows in the Mary Hills Community Centre. I started going when it was very much 18 plus. nightclubs, Classic Grand, Garage, those kind of venues. And the first few shows, I mean, it was raucous. Like, people were throwing stuff
Right.
into the ring, which you should never do. But it was a chaotic atmosphere. And the same diehards are still going to these shows. But here's the beauty, Chris. We're all old. We all get the silver, they call it the premium silver seating package. I don't know if the silver is related to rank or if it's related to our graying hair. But I saw all the same faces, but we were all sat down. Whereas, 10 years ago, we were like jumping about,
Right.
starting chants and things. I used to go to these shows. I remember BT Gunn taking my pint off me and smashing Stevie Boy over the head with it. And here I am now sitting with actually, I had a beer at that show, and it
Oh
was,
God. Oh my
I
God.
know, shocking, right?
Was that not the match? You saw BT and Stevie Boy in the King of Insanity match?
That was the next night. We only went to the
Oh, he
first
was
night.
on it.
But no, but it was great fun. We saw Jackson, formerly Jackie Polo, become ICW champion, which was then reversed the next night. Not like reversed, but he lost it to Kez Evans the following night. Spoiler, if you've not seen Fear and Loathing.
Yeah.
But it was, I didn't care. Like, they could have put anything out in that ring, and I would have loved
Really?
it. And so it was just to see wrestling again. There was only one women's match, which was a bit of a letdown. But apart from that, it was a great, really, really, really enjoyable show. And I was just glad to be there. And there was a bit of COVID anxiety, I suppose, but this was
Yeah.
before kind of Omicron, the Omniverse
Yeah.
had raised its head, and so it was.
I was jealous. I was jealous. I would have liked to have been there.
Man, it was a great show, and so, I'm grateful that I got the chance to do that again, especially because we don't really know what things are going to be like in the future, and if how
Right.
regular this is going to be. We don't even know what the Royal Rumble is going to look like in the end of next month. So that's one of many things for which I'm grateful for in this past year. I'm grateful for friends like yourself, and I'm grateful for all the things that are consistent in my life, like
Right.
my relationship, my house, my job. And I think it's so important to focus on these things in these dark and uncertain times. But what about you? Like, you've got a lot, I suppose, to be thankful for as well. Not to put words into your mouth.
Yeah, I mean it's been a crazy year. But when you said Hydro a minute ago, it reminded me of another thing that happened at the Fozzy gig back on December
Go
2nd.
on.
And Jericho was like, "Glasgow's one of my favorite cities. We're here every single time we go on tour. We're in the garage or the garage, whatever you call it." And he's like, "Is there not a bigger venue here?" And everyone's going like, "Hydro, Hydro, Hydro." And he's
He
like,
bloody
"Okay."
wrestled in it.
He's like, "Next time we come here, we're going to go to the Avro." he tried to pick up the Scottish accent, but he couldn't. So he's like, "We're going to book the
Bless him.
Avro next year." Listen, I'll be there. I don't think we'll fill it very much, but we'll definitely go. That'll be a good gig. But yeah, so that's things like that. Like back to live gigs. Getting to have nights out. I suppose I'm not much of a nightclub guy at all, but they are nice when they happen every so often. Seeing people anyway and being social that way. Live wrestling, of course. And if we're talking about what we're thankful for in wrestling for 2021, just the return of normality, for what we got in 2021 was the biggest thing. Double or Nothing 2021 really stands out as like a real moment. The first full capacity pay-per-view was just unbelievable. And then we also had WrestleMania, of course, in front of fans. Money in the Bank was the first WWE pay-per-view, and the SmackDown before that. And those are like not particularly, I mean, they're good shows and stuff, but they're not particularly like these are legendary shows. But I feel like for me now, I'm going to look at them as legendary shows. Like I remember thinking after that SmackDown, the first one with a full capacity crowd, I was like, so one of my favorite episodes of SmackDown ever.
Yeah.
I can't really tell you what happened on it other than that opening 6-man tag with like Roman, the Usos, and I think it's Edge and the Mysterios. Just because it's like the entrances for the first time and stuff like that. But other than that, I don't remember what happened on the show. I think it was a fatal 4-way maybe the main event, but like just the idea of it being like back to normality and having those entrances and stuff, and it was like a moment. And then of course Money in the Bank being great. All Out 2021 really being a legendary show if you look at it. Like the way that's going to go down, that's going to go down in history as one of their best shows. It's up there with Revolution in 2020 before the pandemic when they had that They had that tag match with Hangman, Omega, and the Bucks and stuff like that. That was like the show that made the AEW, and then of course we had the pandemic. But All Out really is going to be a big thing for AEW this year. And then we're going to look at like some of the best returns in wrestling. We had people like Brock Lesnar, we had Becky Lynch come back at SummerSlam along with John Cena at Money in the Bank. But the biggest one and the best moment in wrestling in the past, 5 years or so, was CM Punk's return, the one that we have been clamoring for years. And it just, it could have happened in the pandemic with no fans, but they were patient, they waited, and it was just a perfect moment. And I guess that's like my favorite wrestling moment of the year. Punk's return.
Although I have to say, week by week, I grow fonder and more grateful for the amazing sensation that is plaid-wearing lumberjack Brock. I love him. I love him so much. I would just want that Brock Lesnar, the flip phone breaking weird ponytail guy. Like, he's just brilliant. I love this version of Brock Lesnar.
It's going to be interesting at day one, first ever day one pay-per-view. Card's really good, actually.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting Brock and Roman again, but like I'm sure it'll be great.
Edge and The Miz is not a match I ever thought I'd want, but I'm kind of intrigued.
I mean, it's been a decent enough story, but there's 100 other people that I'd put Edge in the ring with. But the thing is, Miz has always had his critics. And Miz, particularly from an in-ring perspective, which I've never thought was particularly fair. But the man knows how to carry a story. He's a performer.
Miz, I'm sick of people saying that The Miz he can't rate The Miz. The Miz has got to be one of the best of this generation.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
He's incredible. I love The Miz. Do you have a favourite match of the year?
But I've whipped my phone out because I started at the beginning of the year rather hopefully making a list of the best matches, which I think I abandoned
I'll tell you what,
early on.
I have been compiling, you know me, I love my lists. I've been compiling loads.
So my list stops after SummerSlam. So I don't have any of the great matches that have happened since SummerSlam, which is a shame really. But some of the classic matches of this year, so there's one match that should be on this list that I really loved, and that was Bryan Danielson and Kenny Omega. I've not seen Bryan Danielson and Hangman Page. I don't know how it compares. Inevitably, it will be compared to the Kenny Omega match. So I can tell you that should be on there. But like, I'll just run through some of the ones that I've got here that I absolutely loved. I've got Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers versus Rich Swann, Chris Sabin, and Moose from Hard to Kill.
Oh God, yeah,
in January. That was a great 6-man tag. No crowd noise, no audience, nothing. But brilliant match.
Great action, yeah.
Same can be said for there was a fatal 4-way tag team elimination match on NXT UK in January, which was really, really good as well. I got Reigns and Owens in the Royal Rumble at the Last Man Standing match. Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez versus Shotzi Blackheart and Raquel Gonzalez. Not Raquel Gonzalez, I've done that twice. But basically the women's final for the Women's Dusty Classic.
Yeah.
Johnny Gargano versus Kushida at TakeOver Vengeance Day. Charlotte versus Rhea Ripley at Money in the Bank 2021. The men's Money in the Bank match as well. And then I've got Reigns and Cena at SummerSlam. But definitely I would put Danielson and Omega in there as well, because I thought it's the first time I've kind of sat down and watched a really long match, which just physically tells a great story. I usually struggle to stay invested in those kinds of matches. And I know a lot of people have raved about the Young Bucks versus what are they called? The cage match.
Well, Lucha Brothers.
The Lucha Brothers, there we go. I didn't quite get sold on that match in the same way that everyone else did, but certainly Omega Danielson, and when I finally get around to watching it, Hangman Page and Danielson as well.
Yeah, all good shouts, all great matches. My match of the year is Danielson and Omega. It's my favourite match of the year. Danielson and Hangman is great, but it's it's a 60-minute match. You know what I mean? You need to sit in and get ready to watch it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they're going to do this rematch on the first episode of Dynamite on TBS, and they're bringing in judges for it, which makes me think they're going 60 minutes again.
I think they'll go 60 minutes, and I think I kind of think Danielson should win. I really think
the judges will screw him, and then it'll be like
the rematch
one of
him. Yeah. Well, yeah, it'll It'll be the only way. But this is the problem. It'll be. I worry that what they're going to do is they'll go 60 minutes again, and the judges will give it to Paige so that Danielson can still, not get pinned, which just makes Paige look like crap, Whereas I would much rather Paige just lost because he's an underdog. He always has been. And there's still a story to be told there. It'd be much better chasing the title. And I think AEW, quite frankly, think of it this way. When Drew Galloway returned to ICW, he won the world championship fairly quickly, and people didn't like it. Some, like the hardcore fans, didn't like the WWE guy coming in, but it was a good business move, and it helped sell out the SECC because it was a perfect story for Grado, and they needed a recognizable face leading the brand. It's the same for AEW. They're doing extraordinarily well, but it cannot hurt to have the guy who main evented the last WrestleMania as your world champion, so you can put him on your poster, so you can put him on the Battle of the Belts poster. That's not a bad thing to have. And it's just a wise business decision as well as it is a good story decision creatively, in my view. Look at us doing fantasy Booker again. I'm getting riled up again, Chris.
Putting the Booker hat on. I don't think it makes Hangman look bad, the fact they can't beat Danielson in an hour, because, I mean, Danielson can't beat him either, you know what I mean? But I guess he should be because he's the champion. Surely he's the best, you know what I mean? But Danielson is just the best wrestler in the world, and like one of the best, maybe the best wrestler ever, actually.
I know Danielson couldn't beat Omega and vice versa, right? But they haven't, apart from the fact that Hangman bet Omega, right? Beyond that night, that match, they've not done much to convince me that Hangman is better than Kenny Omega.
Right.
Beyond that match. Whereas Omega, as much as he was a heel and he broke the rules quite a lot, you still got the sense that he was AEW's GOAT in his reign as champion.
The best. Yeah, absolutely.
And there was, you knew that Christian Cage wasn't going to win the AEW world title, but you wanted to see the match. And
Jungle Boy wasn't going to win it, and Ray Phoenix wasn't going to win it, but you would still quite happily watch them have a match.
Absolutely. Whereas with Page, it's kind of like I tell you what, man, it feels a little bit, and this is not fair, it's quite an exaggeration, but to me, it's starting to feel a little bit like when Rey Mysterio was world champion.
Oh, really?
He's not a particularly, and maybe I'm looking at this negatively and cynically, but I would much rather see a definitive result because AEW is the company that always prides themselves on that.
Right. They've never done a disqualification ever. Can you believe that? Like,
it's amazing. And I respect them for that. But I was equally a bit let down when they did another time limit draw so soon after the Omega match.
Right.
I would much rather, especially if they're wanting to avoid comparisons, I would much rather it had gone one way or the other. And I hope to see that remedied. But you're right. The fact that they're bringing the judges means they're going to go 60 minutes again. And it's going to be, for me personally, an unsatisfying conclusion.
Well, I mean, it's not. I don't think it's going to be the conclusion. I think it will lead to another match, which will going to have to be either Iron Man match or, no time limit or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to have to go to something. Who do you think the judges are going to be?
I'd love it if Eric Bischoff was one.
I'd love it if Bischoff again.
Because you know how he was the debate mediator, right? On Dynamite last year.
And I know he was all the shows.
He's like the Rick Rude of this generation. Honestly, there's no reason why he can't,
Yeah.
I genuinely think one of them could be Bischoff, and it should be Bischoff.
So.
As much as he's been I know he's been really critical of AEW recently, and of Punk, so I don't know how well received he would be.
Do you know who they should bring in? Jim Cornette.
Oh, Cornette, yes.
They should bring in Cornette for just because Cornette obviously slates AEW every week. But then, did you hear him talking about the Hangman and Danielson match? It was like his favorite match in 10 years or something. He loved it because it was like they had time to sell and all that stuff. You know what I mean? So, and I wouldn't be surprised if you saw someone like Bret Hart or Ric Flair or something like that pop up as a judge as well.
I doubt we'll see Flair, but Bret Hart's definitely a shout. The other name that I thought of, and I don't know if this could happen contractually, but was Mick Foley.
Probably, I think it could happen, couldn't it? Because he showed up in GCW, didn't he? I don't know.
Yeah. So I don't know if he's under a Legends contract or not. I mean, Mark Henry and the Big Show are
probably going to be it. Paul White definitely will be there. I'm pretty sure that seems to be his role.
I'm trying to I think of anyone else who feasibly could. I mean, The Rock showed up on Impact this year, so
That's right.
I joke. But
Undertaker,
yeah, the Mortician.
the Mortician, Mark Callis. All right, cool. So that'll be interesting to see who the judges are. But what I wanted to do before we finish here is WWE have just released their top 10 matches of the year, and I
Oh
thought
God, see when you say WWE have just released, I just worry about. I thought, oh God, who next?
WWE have just released John Cena. Right, so here's your top 10 matches as per WWE.com, and you can see if you agree or not.
All right, let's hear it.
Number 10 is The Miz and John Morrison versus Damien Priest and Bad Bunny from WrestleMania.
All right, so from a mainstream point of view, it belongs there. It did a lot for the company
Yep.
in terms of mainstream exposure, and it wasn't a bad match.
No, not
You
at all.
know, I think we were saying at the time, like we had a lot of respect for Bad Bunny, who's clearly a devout fan, for coming in, working hard to pull off a really good match. It can't hurt Damien Priest with that being his big first showing on the main roster.
You know,
And
Damien Priest has not lost since coming up to the main roster. He's never been pinned.
really,
Like, he is arguably like one of the best booked guys in the whole company. Like, no, other than Roman, who else has been booked that consistently to win? I don't know.
that's interesting. No, so I mean, I think this all depends. This list will rile some people up.
Of course.
But you need to remember that WWE's criteria is never exclusively your Hangman Page, Kenny Omega, Bryan Danielson classic. It's very much the whole package, which is what I like in wrestling. It's as much
Yeah.
the mainstream, the cultural, the creative, the narrative significance of a match as much as the technical prowess of it.
Number 9, Team Black and Gold versus Team 2.0 NXT War Games. Didn't watch it.
I didn't watch it, and I'll tell you why, because I've never enjoyed a single War Games under the NXT
I
banner.
think they're a pure struggle.
They really are.
You know what I mean?
Do you know, I was so intrigued when they brought it back for NXT because I'd read that for years how much like Vince hates the idea of War Games, and that's why when they bought WCW, they never did it as much as it seemed like an obvious thing. And now I'm like, do you know what, Vince? You're right. It's crap.
Now, they obviously they did Lethal Lockdown in TNA, but even so, that seemed better. And then, listen, I liked the first couple, I guess, with like Adam Cole and Johnny Gargano and things like that. Like, like Ricochet did this big jump off them, I think, like triple backflip or something. Like, I remember it being good, but like the matches are so long and not in a Danielson Hangman way where it's like constant. I guess it is constant action. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but you know. It's just I don't know if it's the flow of the match and the rules.
The first like chunk of it is irrelevant.
Yeah.
And the thing is, because you're so confined to a format, to a genre, you're not going to see. There's a limit to what you can see, but sometimes less is more. So if it's something as simple as Bryan Danielson and Kenny Omega going for 30 minutes on TV, like that's a blank canvas. They can do anything in that ring, whereas you're actually, in some ways, more restricted creatively with a big gimmick like War Games, which is why pay-per-views like Hell in a Cell don't really work or Elimination Chamber don't work, but these matches work much better in isolation. But I would argue that, you know, that's probably there in the list to promote the dominance of NXT 2.0, which I've not really been a connoisseur of. But
No.
do you know that pub you and I went to after we went out for dinner a few months ago?
Yeah.
I was in with my dad I was in there with my dad about 2 months ago, and they were randomly showing NXT 2.0 in that pub
On the screen.
on the screen. Yeah,
How random that is.
and that's the only time I've ever watched it.
See the thing about Danielson and Omega wrestling for 30 minutes straight and you not being bored, it's because obviously they're two of the best wrestlers ever, but it's also that it was like the buzz of that show.
Yeah,
It was like that stadium show, remember? It was like Grand Slam, 22,000 people and stuff like that, and it was like the first match, and it was like, oh my god. Whereas like if you're having War Games in that NXT 2.0 studio, which you see every week, you know what I mean? I was just like, okay, whatever. Right away, number 8 is Big E versus Roman Reigns versus Bobby Lashley on Raw.
don't even remember that match.
Yeah. Number 7, Rhea Ripley, Charlotte Flair from Money in the Bank. Number 6, Roman Reigns, John Cena, SummerSlam. Number 5, we have Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair from Survivor Series. Now, I thought this was a weird match. I liked it, but it was also around that time where it was like rumoured that they hated each other. You know what I mean? They were fighting backstage, and is it going to be a real fight? And they did a good job in that match of doing like a worked shoot kind of style where they were like slapping each other. But But it's not one of my favourite matches of the year because I like a kind of spectacle, and it was more just kind of like rough kind of match that I just wasn't into. But I can see why it's on there. Speaking of a rough match, number 4, Walter versus Ilya Dragunov from TakeOver 36. That was a good one.
That was a good one, but I wouldn't say it's better than the original Walter Dragunov match on the
Right.
NXT UK. That's
But
much
I
better
had
than...
no fans. That was my biggest. I was like, that's the reason they're doing the match on the pay-per-view. You know what I mean? Because they want to do it in front of people. Number 3 is my WWE match of the year, and it's Roman Reigns versus Edge versus Daniel Bryan in the main event of WrestleMania.
I'm glad that made the list. That was an excellent match.
Yeah.
It's not my match of the year, but my match of the year is probably either Bryan Danielson and Omega or another from that same pay-per-view, the WrestleMania, which you've not mentioned.
Which number 2 is Bianca Belair versus Sasha Banks from WrestleMania Night 1.
Definitely, that's probably my match of the year.
Yeah, I literally just watched it before we recorded here. And it's a great match. Their chemistry is unbelievable. There's a moment where the two of them are out the ring on opposite sides with the stairs in the middle. And they roll in at the exact same time, and they don't even get up. They roll, and Bianca catches her in a suplex, and they roll back up, and she lifts her up, and she does the squats like with the suplex.
Amazing.
And it's just this one flow. It's incredible. I was like, how did they do that? So yeah, that's number 2 on WWE's list. Whereas I slightly prefer the Night 2 main event with Bryan, Edge, and Roman, just because of the significance behind that match as well. And then number 1, any guesses? It's a fair choice.
Give me a second, because I wonder if I've already said it on my list, because I would have thought it would have been Bianca and Sasha.
Right.
Or WWE. I wonder if they're going with maybe like the men's Money in the Bank ladder match.
It's not on your list.
It's not on my list. Okay,
No.
Hold on, let me think. Can you give me like the gender division?
It's a men's match. Of course it is. WWE we're talking about here.
TV or pay-per-view?
Pay-per-view that I know you watched. And we were texting during the match. Live.
It's on the Saudi show.
Yeah.
Is it Brock and Roman?
Edge and Rollins, Hell in a Cell match.
That was a great match. I'd forgotten all about it, though.
Great match. Not my number 1, but would be on my list, you know. And yeah, a kind of forgotten classic, I think, because a lot of people are like, really?
I'd forgotten all about that. I definitely think it belongs on the list, but I would definitely also rank Sasha and Bianca above it. As good as it was, it's definitely one of the best Hell in a Cell matches in years.
Agreed. Absolutely. All right. Well, there you go, ladies and gents. We are thankful for many things in 2021 in wrestling and also just in life itself. We're also very thankful for you listening. We're thankful for the idea of being able to film this and record this and get out to you guys in many different ways. So we appreciate you watching/listening wherever you are around the world. And we'll be back on a more consistent basis in the brand new year of 2022. Can you believe it? 2022.
20 years on from the OVW class, you know, the Lesnar, the Orton, the Cena, the Rey Mysterio. Well, he wasn't in OVW, but the Shelton Benjamins.
Yeah, Rico.
You look so good to me.
You get any New Year's resolutions?
Start drinking. No. I'm going to try and be. Are you quite all right there? I'm going to try and be quite. I'm going to be more. I want to stay on top of mindfulness, and I want to meditate more. That's what.
Love that.
What about you, my friend?
Do more Ravenclaw-like things. I'm going to try and work on my reading. I read 10 books in 2021. Might not seem like a big deal to a reader like yourself, but it was a big deal for me. And I'm going to try and do at least one a month going into the new year. Watch more films is always a New Year's resolution for me. And be healthier, maintain good relationships, maintain the consistency of the podcast, make sure the good bit is also as loved as the Wrestling Connection. And yeah, I'm sure I've got a few more to think about, but it's going to be a good year. I can feel it. I can feel it down to my plums. Right. Thanks for listening, everybody. See you all next time on the Wrestling Connection podcast.
Bye.